Today, we've got a fascinating conversation to unpack, one that's packed with energy, insight, and a whole lot of truth bombs. It's an interview that's got me fired up, and I think it'll do the same for you. So, let's jump right in.
This episode is all about Congressman Michael Cloud from Texas, who sat down with Mike Adams over at BrightLearn.com for a no-holds-barred discussion about restoring America to its God-given greatness. And let me tell you, this conversation is chef's kiss. It's raw, it's real, and it's exactly the kind of dialogue we need right now. So let's break it down. First off, Congressman Cloud doesn't shy away from the big picture. He starts by painting a stark contrast between where America is today and where it used to be. He talks about how, a generation or two ago, the right and the left actually shared some common ground. They both believed in America, in inalienable rights, and in the idea that government's role was to help people achieve those shared goals. But now, it's a whole different ballgame. Cloud describes a Republican Party that's trying to uphold constitutional principles, albeit imperfectly, while the left, in his view, is embracing Marxist and communist ideologies, pushing authoritarianism and using everything from censorship to rogue agencies to force their agenda on the American people. Yikes, right? He calls this the defining battle of our time, and honestly, it's hard to disagree. Then, the conversation shifts to something we're all feeling right now: the skyrocketing cost of living. Adams brings up Kamala Harris's recent push for government price controls on groceries, and Cloud doesn't hold back. He calls it straight out of the communist playbook: create a problem, in this case inflation caused by massive government spending, then swoop in with a government solution: price controls. He even throws in a classic Reagan quote: "I'm from the government, and I'm here to help." You can almost hear the sarcasm dripping from his voice. But here's the kicker. Cloud argues that the real solution to high food prices isn't government intervention, it's energy. Specifically, domestic energy production. Farming, transportation, you name it, it all runs on energy. And Texas, as Cloud points out, is sitting on a gold mine of natural resources. But instead of tapping into that, we're being held back. It's a frustrating paradox, and one that hits home for anyone feeling the pinch at the grocery store. But wait, it gets even more interesting. Cloud dives into the energy demands of the future, particularly with the rise of AI. Did you know that AI is extremely energy-intensive? Like exponentially so. And yet, while we're facing this massive energy demand, there's a push to phase out fossil fuels and transition to electric vehicles. Cloud points out the obvious flaw in this plan. Our power grid isn't ready. We don't have the infrastructure, the copper, or the capacity to handle it. It's like trying to run a marathon without training. It's just not going to end well. And speaking of energy, Cloud doesn't mince words when it comes to the global implications. He talks about how energy is at the heart of virtually every international conversation, and how America's ability to produce energy cleanly and efficiently is a game changer. But instead of leaning into that strength, we're being told to scale back. It's a head-scratcher, to say the least. Now let's talk about something that's near and dear to my heart: freedom. Cloud is a man of faith, and he doesn't shy away from talking about how his values shape his approach to politics. He shares his journey from being a church kid to running for Congress, a path he never planned but felt called to. He talks about the importance of standing firm on principles, especially in a time when, as he puts it, truth isn't important to the left. He's talking about the mutilation of children, the erosion of free speech, and the weaponization of government agencies. It's heavy stuff, but it's also a call to action. Cloud reminds us that this isn't just about politics. It's about the heart and soul of what it means to be free. And then there's the economy. Oh boy, the economy. Cloud doesn't sugarcoat it. We're in a mess. With over $35 trillion in federal debt and unfunded liabilities topping $220 trillion, the numbers are staggering. Cloud warns that we're racing toward a fiscal cliff, and unless we change course, the consequences will be catastrophic. He talks about the need for bold action, for cutting spending, and for holding agencies accountable. But here's the thing. He also acknowledges that this isn't just a DC problem, it's a cultural problem. We've walked away from absolute truth, and until we get back to that, we're going to keep spinning our wheels. But it's not all doom and gloom. Cloud ends on a hopeful note, talking about the importance of faith, family, and freedom. He reminds us that America is worth fighting for, and that it's up to all of us to step up and do our part. Whether it's voting, educating ourselves, or just having tough conversations with the people around us, we all have a role to play. So what's the takeaway from this conversation? For me, it's a reminder that the stakes are high, but so is the potential for change. Congressman Cloud is a voice of reason in a sea of chaos, and his message is clear. It's time to get back to basics. It's time to fight for freedom, for faith, and for the future of this incredible country. All right, Bright Learners, that's it for today's episode. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Let's keep the conversation going, and let's keep fighting for a brighter future. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and stay bright.
This has been a BrightLearn.ai summary of an interview between Representative Michael Cloud and Mike Adams on August 28, 2024. The full interview is available at brightion.com, where you can also find podcasts and special reports by Mike Adams and other creators. Visit naturalnews.com for full editorial coverage of this interview and breaking news on critical stories that will keep you informed and aware of what's really going on.